What's going on, everybody? Tim from Tierfawn Orbital. Here we are again, back with another detailed walkthrough video. This is going to be for a very special hilt, in my opinion. I keep saying, especially with my last few videos, that I've been drawn more to the custom one-off hilts. It's probably becoming a small obsession for me now, in that I'm searching out, those one-off unique hilts for my personal collection. So this hilt came across my desk from the client, already weathered, already assembled, essentially. The client did have requests for some body modifications, as well as a CFX install with a custom chassis. So I want to go over all of that. I do want to go over the hilt. I feel like a hilt of this caliber, something that is this unique, I really feel like it needs to be shown off. Sometimes sabersmiths will put touches of themselves in the hilt, and I feel like it would do the hilt justice if we went over everything that's on the outside as well as the inside of this hilt. So if you can't already tell, I'm just a huge fan of this thing. Like I said, the client did send it to me already assembled, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So let's go over it, right? So first of all, I want to talk about the Graflex lightsaber. So the Graflex, specifically Luke's Graflex from A New Hope, has been and always will be my top favorite hilt. It's my number one. It's just, to me, that's like the best hilt ever made. And I know that people will not agree with that. It's not a very comfortable hilt to hold. It's not a very comfortable hilt to spin around, honestly. But for me, the look of a Graflex lightsaber is second to none, and I really just appreciate the aesthetics of that. Now, along with Luke's Graflex, there are hilts called ScrapFlexes. And a ScrapFlex, actually, so I have my personal scrap here that I think I've done a video for, and I've got a weathered one here that I'm actually going to be dropping soon, so I've got a weathered one as well. But a ScrapFlex uses parts of a Graflex lightsaber. Mainly, you'll find that the top shroud of a Graflex in a lot of ScrapFlexes, along with this ribbed section. They can all be different, though. I mean, ScrapFlexes are just that. They're scrap-built lightsabers. This hilt, I don't even know if I would call it a ScrapFlex. I mean, it is its own aesthetic. And I think that's what I appreciate the most about it. It definitely has a Graflex top. It's got Graflex fins. But other than that, it's just super unique. So let's talk about it. Let's go up to the top. So the client is calling this the Exiled Scavenger. Love the name. And this thing looks so dope, guys. So we've got an amalgamation of parts here. This is a pommel from the Custom Saber shop. I believe the client added their own pommel cap. So yeah, first let me also say, like, this came to me, the hilt came to me already like this. I mean, I really did not have to do anything other than some minor body modifications to it, but it came to me like this, and this thing looks so cool, right? So we've got, in the grip, we have, I think these are Empire Strikes Back fin configuration on the grip. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that's Empire. Those are Empire fins. There's a D-ring on the grip. So this looks familiar to a bunch of people, I'm sure. This is like a clamp, a steel pipe clamp. And that it looks so cool on this grip. I never thought of doing that, but it looks great on the grip. Making our way up, we have a ribbed Parks. I believe this is a Parks blade holder. I use these. I get them from Vader's Vault to do for my scraps, but this particular one does have the notch cut out in it, and we'll get into that when I take the grip off. So we do have a ribbed section here. This is a Graflex shroud top. I'm not entirely sure where the client got this from, but this is like the real deal chrome-plated brass. The client put his own control box on here with a really, really rad clamp card from Sloth Furnace. The buttons, so the client wanted to utilize brass momentary switches from Kalyminian Customs. Prior to mounting the switches in these Graflex red buttons, I had to make some modifications. So one of these is a regular depression switch Graflex red button. The client already removed the red button out of it, so I was able to utilize that as a switch, but the one around front was one of those. This came from the Graflex shop, but it's almost like a faux red button with a threaded end piece that you can just thread into a hilt. You can use it as like a blade retention or like a greebly. Because the client wanted to utilize this front one as a working button, and because I wanted to mount that switch from Kalyminian Customs, I did have to make some modifications on the one that came with it. Whoops. So the one that was in there, I had to cut, I grinded off this post, okay, and I had to make a penetration in the switch assembly itself. So the red button was gone. I had to make a channel in there to fit that switch from Kalyminian Customs. And then after that, I just I actually JB welded it back onto the housing. Kept the beer can tab on this as well. So yes, we were able to utilize both of those Graflex switch housings as holders for the Kalyminian Custom buttons, and I think it came out looking really, really fantastic. We've got brass pins, Graflex brass pins in this as well, and the bunny ear assembly from regular Graflex flash gun. It's been heat stained. I mean, the client really did a great job with weathering this thing too. So let's come around the front, right? So let's come down to the other camera. So one of the other requests that the client had was to cut I'm going to call it what it is. This is a Derelict-esque shroud cut in this hilt. Now, prior to doing this, both the client actually got Brad's blessing to do this because this is a personal build, and I also reached out to Brad as well just to make sure that, I had his blessing to cut the Derelict style slit in this build. So this was my first time doing this. I mean, I'm just going to be completely transparent with everybody. This was my first time doing this, and it was terrifying. So, as I mentioned, the client sent this to me already assembled and weathered. So, making a cut like that, taking a grinding wheel to an already built lightsaber that's not mine was a little scary, because if you make one bad angle cut in this, it's done. You got to start all over, and because the client already put so much work into this thing, it was terrifying. But I'm very happy with the way it came out. I think it looks so good. I mean, I really like the way I haven't been turned on to the Derelict style builds ever, really. I mean, I've just been a scrap and a Koran horn guy for a while, but I really just love the way that this came out, and I think it looks great. Right? So, yeah, it was a little scary to do that. So anyway, let's talk about how to use the hilt, okay? So, but before we do that, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the chassis. So this was a custom resin chassis. This chassis is loosely based on the chassis that I put in my Tierfon scrap builds. So we have plenty of room for in a fully enclosed 28mm speaker. I put a Smuggler's Outpost Elite into this build. We have a kill switch that sits here. The CFX, so I modified this chassis to accept a CFX board. The CFX sits in here. It is nicely snug and press fit into this this chamber here. What I ended up doing, here's our battery tray. So what I ended up doing with this one, because there is that notch in that Parks Graflex blade holder, I utilized that notch for a little bit of shine through. So inside of this chassis, I created a channel to slide down a 1515 neopixel strip, so we have shine through this little window, and I'll go over that when we use the hilt. So I printed this off in clear translucent resin, masked off what I did not want to be. So I masked off this window first, did a pass with Tamiya matte black spray, and then I masked off some of the greeblies and did like my buff and rub treatment that I typically have been doing on a lot of chassis, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out. So let's come back down to the top camera. So to use the hilt, the grip unscrews, and here's our chassis. Spring sides are negative. Spring is towards the speaker, so flat part of the battery goes towards the speaker. So that was already on. If it's not on and you don't get that cue or see the light on the CFX board, you want to turn on your kill switch and you're ready to go. So before I put the grip back on, so here's that shine through in that notch on that Parks blade holder. I really wanted to put something different in here, and because we're not doing like a crystal chamber or anything, I thought it'd be cool to have its own like shine through, right? So put your grip on, and you can still get a little bit of that shine through when the grip is fully engaged. And we're ready to go. So let's come down. So here it is. So I did not wire that up as its own blade. This just matches. It's wired in line with the main blade. So here's that shine through in that middle waist section. And it came out really great. So let's put a blade in it, and we will do a little bit of a demo. So let's put a blade in it. I've got a little shorty blade here. This is from Bendu Armory. It's like a little demo blade. I actually got one of these for my child hilt. But it's a 7/8 inch blade because this blade holder is a 7/8 inch blade holder. So you want to take your blade, rest it in your blade holder, make sure it's resting on those PCB pins. Now, my intention, I really wanted to use this flathead screw, the flathead Graflex screw, as the blade retention, but because I had to delete this Graflex screw, red button, to make it as a switch holder for the Kalyminian Customs button, this flathead screw is what holds this entire shroud to this top blade holder body. So this is nice and tight. You should never have a reason to unscrew that, but just for future reference, if you need to, that's holding the shroud on. I tapped and drilled a brass set screw above that, and that's what serves as your blade retention, right? So you put your blade in, screw it in, tighten that screw, and you're good to go. This is a custom sound font called Exiled from the client. He did request that we do a gold blade with this one. So I put a gold blade with this sound font. I have been, brushing up on my CFX config. So there are something like 25 active fonts on this hilt. Let's see what else we've got on here.
Sound bank selection.
Second, sister.
How predictable.
Oh, that's PLI blade. I gotta deactivate that. Here's that shine through. So this front button is your main. The button around back above the control box is your aux. So let's see what else we have on here.
Sound bank selection.
Second. You're in fire. General Kenobi. Ben Kenobi? Hello there.
I keep hitting the aux button. Anyway.
Ben Kenobi? Are you a Jedi?
I will give my life to protect the child, but he will not be safe until he masters his abilities.
There's that shine through again.
Sound bank selection.
Luke Skywalker. I am Luke Skywalker,
Jedi Knight and friend to Captain Solo.
So I see. I get carried away. So I think that's it, everybody. To the client, thank you so much for trusting me with your build and for trusting me to tear into your beautiful top Graflex section. This is an awesome looking hilt. To the viewers, thank you for your support. If anyone has any questions or comments about this build or any of the others, please don't be a stranger. And I think that's it. So with that being said, may the Force be with you always.